Hello, welcome to One Cool Thing, PC Mag's daily show on Facebook, where we show you one cool thing which we are testing out in the PC Mag labs. I'm Sasha Segan, this is Jim Fisher. We have Social Pete taking your comments, questions, etc., etc., etc. And our cool thing today is the GoPro Hero6 Black. And now, Jim, this looks a lot like previous GoPros, so tell us what's new here.
Well, it looks exactly like the GoPro Hero5 Black. I mean, the only difference is right here. And you can barely see it because it's kind of like matte black on gray text.
Let me hold that up to the product camera.
Yeah, like the logo there on the side. That's the only physical difference between the Hero5 Black and the Hero6 Black cosmetically. I think this is slightly lighter. It's 4 ounces versus 4.2 ounces. But when you're talking 0.2 of an ounce, who cares? Internally, there's a new processor, new image processor they call the GP1. It doubles the maximum frame rates. It adds digital stabilization at not the top frame rates, but one level down. So you can do 4K 30 stabilized, handheld, 1080p 120, 2.7K 60, all stabilized. But for super slow motion, you've got 4K 60, which is half speed at 30 frames per second playback. You've got 2.7K at 120 and 1080p at 240 frames a second. So if you play that back on a 24 FPS timeline, that's 1/10 speed. So that's real slow.
Yeah, so that's like your ski jumps now go like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the 1080p 240 footage, you know, the shutter's firing so fast it can get a little grainy if the light's not really bright, but it still looks really good. And
also, it's a GoPro. You are probably doing a lot of this outdoors. You're probably
It's waterproof to 33 feet, so you don't have to worry about getting it wet. You know, you can take it in the snow. You don't have to worry about dropping it. You know, it's just it's built tough. It's got a touch screen on it, just like the Hero 5. It's got the same mounting system. It comes with a cage that's got the standard GoPro mount on there.
I was going to ask about the mounts. Like, you can just put it into any existing GoPro mount.
Yeah.
So, okay, so people with existing GoPros may want to upgrade to this because of the new frame rates, primarily?
The new frame rates and the digital stabilization. If you do a lot of handheld footage, if you're not primarily like, you know, even if you're mounting it to something, it's going to remove some of that shaky bumps. If you're not shooting, you know, at 4K 30, 2.7K 60, and 1080p up to 120, you get that stabilization. And you sacrifice like 5% of your ultra wide field of view, but whatever.
So how much, I gotta say though, how much of the bumpiness is the GoPro aesthetic though? Like do people taking action videos want them to be a little bumpy?
It's still gonna be bumpy. You're gonna see the bumps, you're not gonna see the jitters. You're not gonna see that kind of jittery, non-stabilized video when you're walking around or mounting it. The bumps will be there, but they'll be a little smoothed out, it'll look more pro. Like you've got it mounted to a gimbal almost. I mean, when I was at the announcement event and I was actually standing inches away from Nick Woodman as he screamed into the crowd.
Well, because they're extreme. GoPro is so extreme.
He is the most extreme CEO of all the CEOs. And he compared it to a powered gimbal. I didn't find it to be quite as smooth as a powered gimbal. That's a little bit of a hyperbole on their part, but it's still real good stabilization.
Okay, so, and now, do people, so people use GoPros pretty much exclusively for video, right? Stills are not really a thing that people do?
You can do some stills with it. It's got a 12 megapixel sensor. You can shoot the full fisheye effective stills. You can have it defish the stills automatically. It's got HDR photo mode, so it will increase that dynamic range. And it shoots RAW. So you know you've got some real still options there.
And of course, there's no tripod mount or anything like that. For that, you use cages and cases, right?
You get a cage. You can get a tripod that has the GoPro mount directly on the top instead of the socket, or you can get a little adapter and mount it to standard tripods anywhere. You know, that's like a 2-cent adapter, little thumb screw thing. Okay, great.
So now, what else is out there right now in the world of action cameras? Is anyone like adequately competing with this product?
We liked the Yi 4K Plus when we reviewed it, which was when we reviewed it wasn't quite a finished product. They've fixed some things that were missing, including 24 frames per second video and raw photo capture. But the Yi is, while it's the same form factor, is not waterproof without an external case.
And that's really important for a lot of GoPro users.
It is, yeah, it is. And the other thing that GoPro is way ahead of the third-party Chinese manufacturers in is software. I mean, this has got built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. So ostensibly, it should automatically transfer everything you shoot to your phone if you wanted to. I found in testing that was a little hit or miss. Like some of my first clips, the longer ones didn't go, but then I reset everything and they went. So there were some little hiccups, but that was first day firmware. I've updated the firmware since then. And with your Android or iOS phone, you've got the GoPro Quick Stories app, which will take the video you've shot over past 24, 48, or 72 hours and will automatically create a movie for you.
Okay, like auto-edit the most dramatic parts.
And then once from the auto-edit, you can drag and drop on the phone and kind of get rid of the mistakes it makes because it's machine learning. It's trying to recognize, it's got gyro sensors in there, it's got GPS in there. It's trying to recognize movement and things and capture the highlights based on that, but it's not always perfect. And you can voice commands on this as well. So you can say, GoPro take a photo, or you can say GoPro highlight.
Oh, wow.
While you're recording video, and that will tell the editing software, oh, this is a good moment.
This is a good moment. Now, I pulled a little battery out here. How does it do in terms of battery life?
We got a little less than 90 minutes of 4K 60 frames per second recording. That's without any Wi-Fi transfer. Wi-Fi, if you're copying stuff over to your phone, that's a big battery hit. It's a USB-C connector, so you can use a power bank or a power source to power it during that time. But yeah, extra. If you're going to do a lot of Wi-Fi transfers or a lot of video during the day, extra batteries.
And I know people are going to be asking, how much does it cost? Are there multiple SKUs of it?
One SKU, $500.
Oh no, I seem to be taking photos. Whoops. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Looks like we have some questions out there.
When you say it's $500, what does it come with? Is it just what we see here?
You get this. You get the cage. And you get a couple little adhesive mounts and the foot to connect to them, but that's it. You don't get any of the crazy tripod mounts or weird arm mounts, or as I called out in my review, the bite mount, which is a mount that you put in your mouth.
Whoa! Yeah, so when would people be using that?
Dentistry? I'm not sure. No, I think it's for people who are skateboarding or skiing and really want that.
Yeah.
Really
like from the middle of your face.
Even surfing,
Yeah.
It's got a floaty on it too, so if it falls out of your mouth while you're in the water, your camera will float.
Or what if you're like swimming? You're keeping your mouth closed when you're swimming.
I hope so. I mean, I guess we could give it to Michael Phelps and just have him, do a race with the GoPro in his mouth and see if the shark attacks him.
That's great. So now, you're taking 4K video. How big a micro SD card do you want?
I would start with 64 gig.
Okay.
I was testing it during my field testing. GoPro threw a thing out in San Francisco. PC Mag flew me out there. I was able to do some, I went on a crazy boat ride, which is on the review, and I had a 32 gig card that got me through the day, but I think just for peace of mind, a 64 gig is the minimum what you want to look at for 4K.
How about in terms of card speed?
You want something that's U3.
Okay.
Just get the fastest SanDisk you
can
get.
Get the SanDisk Extreme Pro.
Get the best card you can for high resolution
and that's
video.
Expensive, but if you're getting a GoPro, then you're choosing quality over price.
Right, and unlike film, you can reuse it.
Right.
You don't have to get a new memory card every time you fill it up. I know some people think you do, but you don't.
Looks like we have another question out there.
A viewer just points out that urban freerunners use the bite mount.
Urban freerunners. Oh, so
what is an urban
is that the thing guys are running at the walls and things?
It's like parkour. I don't know the actual difference, but there is one.
I was going to call it parquet, which I think is a margarine, but that's very different.
I was just imagining that great clip from The Office where they all run around yelling parkour.
Yeah.
It's
where Ed Helms kind of falls flat on his face.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm going to show the viewers the UI right now. This is all touchscreen, right?
Yeah. There's a button on the side to switch modes. There's a button on the top to start and stop recording or to take pictures. But it's a touchscreen interface. It's very easy to use. You can swipe down to go to settings. You can swipe left to access your media. You can touch the video, the frame rate things down at the bottom to change your frame rates. It's very easy to use.
What about if it's in a case or a cage? Because then the touchscreen wouldn't necessarily work, or do the cages have something?
I don't. You know what? I'd have to look at the water. I believe the touchscreen will not work in the waterproof case.
You control it from your phone then?
Yeah, there's a Wi-Fi app.
Okay.
You can control any aspect of the camera from your phone. So if you do have it in a waterproof case and you need to change something, reach for your phone before you go in the water. When you're in the water, you're locked into whatever you get set.
Hey, I've got a waterproof phone. We've got another question.
What's the software package like? Is it easy to edit all the video that you're getting?
There's a desktop editing software included with the GoPro, which it's okay. It's not pro level, but I mean, if you've got a modern Windows or Mac, you've got Windows Movie Maker or iMovie.
Yeah, it's just
those are better.
It's standard MP4 video, right?
Yeah. For your phone, you've got Quick Stories and the GoPro app. if you want to auto edit. But you can also, I was using this with iPhone 8, take the clips right into iMovie. One thing to note though, and I put this out in the review in more detail, some of the footage, the top frame rates, the 4K 60, the 2.7K 120, and the 1080p 240 are HEVC.
Okay.
The other things it records are H.264, which is a little more compatible.
HEVC, what are there limits on what can edit that?
Right now, the limit is actually GoPro's own software, and I'm sure they're going to update this in due time, quickly. Quick Stories does not support HEVC yet.
Oh.
That's coming.
But
it will
does iMovie?
iMovie does, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I was able, if the footage properly automatically transfers from the GoPro to the GoPro app, it will transcode it on the fly. If it does not, then you can, if you have a phone that supports HEVC, you can transcode in iMovie if you really want to use Quick Stories. But for the most part, you're better off just making sure that footage goes over automatically.
Looks like we have another question out there.
How is the screen in regards to bleeding? Do you notice any of it with the LCD?
That is a good question. Not that I noticed. I mean, it's a good LCD screen. It's 2 inches in size. It's the same the same screen as the Hero 5. So if you notice bleeding on the Hero 5, you're going to notice it here. But I didn't have, in the field I was trying to keep my glasses free of water and the screen free of water and the lens free of water, more so than really paying attention to if I was noticing any blooming or bleeding from the LCD.
We have another question.
For someone who tuned in a bit late, what are the main differences between this and the GoPro Hero Session 5?
The Session 5 doesn't have a screen, so you're limited to that top button and phone control. This has much faster frame rates. It's got the same lens as the Hero 5 Black, so it's a slightly wider field of view lens. This has just got more options. It's got
digital stabilization, right?
And the digital stabilization. Thank you. Yeah, the digital stabilization is new to this. This is first for any GoPro.
Another question.
Is there going to be a 6 without the touchscreen? I
doubt it. I really doubt it. They might do it. There's a chance there's a Hero 6 session, with the GP1 processor. That's always a possibility if GoPro feels that there's a market for that, which would be that without touchscreen.
How does this compare to the Sony RX1?
You think you mean the RX0, which I have not had a chance to use yet. The RX0 has a tighter field of view lens. It's a 24mm equivalent, which is still plenty wide angle. It's got a 1-inch sensor, which is 4 times the image sensor of this, and a fixed f4 lens, which doesn't sound super wide aperture, but paired with a 1-inch sensor is pretty good. I'm looking forward to seeing what the RX0 can do when I get a chance to test it.
Okay, great. Oh,
the RX0 is also $700 versus $500.
People love GoPros. I love this. Yeah.
And actually, someone had a question that we were talking about before the show, which is how does this compare then to Google's new camera that they mentioned?
May I?
Sasha, go for it.
Okay. I was at the Google event in San Francisco, so I got a chance to see and to play with Google Clips. Google Clips is nothing like a GoPro. It looks kind of like an action camera, but it's not an action camera at all. Google Clips is specifically designed to float or get stuck somewhere in your home or at an event to act as essentially an event photographer. What it does is it senses if motion or something interesting is happening, and then if something interesting is happening, it takes a 5 to 8 second video burst of the interesting thing at 15 frames per second, so you can ideally pick the most interesting still photos of the thing that's happening, whether it be a small child doing gymnastics, or somebody giving a toast at a wedding, or somebody blowing out the candles at a party. So the Google Clips will not take, as far as I could tell, it will not even take continuous video at all. It's not an action camera in the least. The best way to think of the Google Clips is as an invisible photographer standing around with a smartphone at your event or near your family, getting ready to take a photo if somebody's doing something cute.
But it's a photographer without legs. He's just where he is.
Right.
He's not moving unless you move him yourself.
Right, and the point of the clip is, I think the clip confused a lot of people, because most people think about clips in terms of wearable cameras, in terms of GoPros. But when you looked at the demos at Google and you saw the things it was clipped onto, it was clipped onto pieces of furniture. It was clipped onto a child's toy. It was clipped onto a playpen. It's meant to be clipped in a stationary rather than a moving place. We have another question.
Another Google question, do the Pixel Buds really translate in real time?
The jury is out on that one. Okay, so the Pixel Bud demo that you saw on stage may have been faked. I saw the teleprompter, and both sides of the conversation in both languages were on the teleprompter. So whether or not the Pixel Buds were actually translating, both of the presenters were reading the translation off the prompter, not out of the Buds. When I tried the Buds down at the Google event, they did accurately translate what I was saying in English out through the phone into Spanish or French. But the noisy demo room, the phone could not understand what anyone around me was saying. So I couldn't get that reverse translation back into my ear. And that may have been because the demo room was too noisy. Or it could have been because the translation doesn't work. I don't know. The jury is out on that one. We have another question.
Couple spec questions about the 6. What's the weight of it, and what's the maximum capacity that it can take?
It's 4 ounces, and it should be able to take the largest micro SD card you can get on the market.
256 is
400.
Right now. What?
There's a 400.
Oh, the 400 was just announced.
It'll take. It's SDXC compatible, UHS whatever compatible. It'll take the largest card you can find and afford.
Is the 400 UHS 3 though?
It may be, but it just wouldn't take advantage of the extra contacts and speed.
Okay.
The extra contacts on the UHS card, the higher UHS cards are just for this extra speed.
The 256s are widely available.
Yeah.
One thing that's a warning out there, because some readers have inquired, there are fake 512 gig micro SD cards being sold on Amazon. All micro SD cards that claim to be 512 gigs right now are fakes. They are generally 32 or 64 gig cards that have had their partition map edited to appear to be 512 gigs.
Wow, that's nasty.
And as soon as you fill them more than 32 or 64, you start getting write errors. So that's kind of crazy. But yeah, 400 is the biggest actual one that's been announced. Any more questions out there?
I think we're all set.
Okay, so you reviewed this and you gave this an editor's choice.
I did.
Why 4 and not a higher rating?
I think the market's gotten a little more competitive versus when we reviewed the Hero 5 last year, which we gave a 4.5. I think this is a better camera, but it's $100 more. There are some other third-party options out there that are pretty compelling, especially for users who don't want to spend a lot on an action cam. We have an editor's choice that's $150 that is nowhere near as good as the GoPro.
Yeah, it's not going to get you your 120 frame per second.
But it's $150.
Okay.
And then the Yi is an option there if you don't need the waterproof capabilities, and that does 4K 60.
But in terms of a no compromises action cam, this is the one to get.
Right, yeah. The Hero 5 is still available, so if you don't need the extreme frame rates, you can go for that. However, I think the digital stabilization is worth spending the extra $100 for.
Prevents this.
Well,
yeah.
that's going to look shaky no matter what.
That's just me having too much coffee. Okay, great. Well, thank you. One more question before we go.
One more.
How good is the low light ability of it?
It's improved based on versus the Hero 5. They have some better scene recognition. It's the same sensor, so you're not going to see drastic improvements, but they're doing better things with the metering. So there's a night shot mode and a night time lapse mode that are going to give you better results than out of the box. However, there's also manual exposure there. So if you're used to the Hero 5 and doing manual exposures in low light situations, it's a pretty moot point.
Okay, well, thank you all for watching. This has been One Cool Thing with the GoPro Hero6 Black. I am Sasha Segan, this is Jim Fisher, and we will be back on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with another cool thing for you.